The first thing I wanted to talk to you about is how big our fathers play a role in our life, even if you don't see it every day, even if you don't think about it every day, actually every day of your life has been affected by your dad. Even if he made a choice many years ago, that choice is still affecting you today. Do you see that? And then if you go further back, the fathers that are sitting here, the adults, you can think about, and even the mothers, the choices your dad made, and the choices your grandfather made, they started affecting your life, didn't they? And they still affect your lives today. Now here's the thing. For example, my parents, my father was actually born in India and then moved to Pakistan, but his grandfather used to live in Afghanistan and they moved to India. So they kept moving, right? But if you keep going to my grandpa's grandpa, if you keep going back, like many of you said, for example, you're from South Asia or even in Turkestan, etc. If you go back, my dad's Muslim, my grandfather's Muslim, his dad is Muslim, his dad is Muslim, his dad is Muslim. But if you go far back enough, what's going to happen? Somebody's going to be what? Somebody's going to be non-Muslim. Somebody's going to be a Buddhist. Somebody's going to be a Hindu, right? So somebody, sometime, decided to accept Islam. Some young man decided to accept Islam. Some young woman decided to accept Islam. And because they accepted Islam, they ended up marrying someone who's also what? Muslim. And then they had children that were Muslim, and then their children, and here you are. Here you are. So somebody made a choice, right? Somebody made a choice, and then as a result of that, generations later, you're in a Muslim family. So you're not just affected by the choices made by your dad, you're affected by the choices made by generations before you. It's a huge chain, right, that you're connected to. You can't, even if you never met your great-great-great-great-grandfather, you're still connected to him. You can't separate yourself from all of that history. Do you understand this first point? That's a very important thing. I want you to hold on to this first thing. The first thing is the effect of our fathers and grandfathers. That's the first thing I wanted to share with you. Is that clear to everybody? Okay, let's move on to the second thing. The second thing I want to talk to you about is groups. We all we're part of one giant group called humanity, right? Can you think of a smaller group that you're all a part of? Huh? Yeah. You're Texan. Oh, okay, yeah, that's good. Can you get even smaller? Oh, Houston. What's the smallest group you're a part of? Yes. Your family. Your family is also a group. So you're part of the group called humanity, you're part of the group called North America, you're part of the group called America, and then Texas, and then Houston, and then, what town is this called again? Sugarland. Yeah, Sugarland. Yeah. Very nice. Thank you. Okay. Sugarland. There's all these identities. And then there's this first identity, your family. Which one of these do you think you can't let go of? I mean, human you'll always be, obviously. Hopefully. Right? But can you move out of America? Can somebody, especially in the current administration, is it possible somebody can lose their citizenship? Is that possible? It's totally possible. Is it possible somebody's used to be Houstonian and then astaghfirullah, they moved to Dallas? Is that possible? It's possible. Right? But what's one identity that's never going to change? Yeah. Your family. Your family. And it's not just that you have your family name. You have the biology of your parents. You have the genes of your parents. You kind of look like your mom and your dad or a mix. Or you have your grandpa's eyes. Isn't that true? So that's something that's never going to change. It's a solid part of your identity. The first thing I talked to you about, and now the second thing I talked to you about. The first thing I talked to you about is what? What was the first thing? The choices. Our parents' choices affect our life today. The second thing I talked to you about is there's a part of your identity you can never get away from it. What's that? Your family, which is directly tied to your father's father. Eventually, all of humanity came from one father. Who? Adam alayhi salam, right? But now here's the third thing, and this is where I wanted you to sit with your parents for a reason. You know, our parents went through a pretty tough life. Like, a lot of you live in a nice home or an apartment, and you have a car, and you have a pretty comfortable life, but it wasn't always like that. Like, it used to be pretty tough for your mom and for your dad at some point. And it was very scary coming to a different country. And it was scary getting away from everybody that they knew from before, right? But you weren't around, you didn't see any of that. You didn't see the difficulties that they went through. But if you learned, and I want to give you this assignment, actually tonight, after we finish tonight, I want you to have a conversation with your parents about the hard parts of their life before their life became any easier. Because you guys, the kids that are sitting here, you may have never seen the hard parts of their life, so you don't even think it exists. You don't know that it exists. It's always been like that, right? What I want you to do tonight is I want you to actually interview your parents and learn about their life and learn about your grandparents' life as much as possible tonight. I want you to gain that perspective. But now let me begin why I really did all of these questions with you. Ibrahim alayhi salam is one of the only two prophets in the Quran that are called our father. Which two prophets are called our father? Anyone know? Adam alayhi salam and? No, not Nuh alayhi salam. Adam alayhi salam and Ibrahim alayhi salam. They're actually called our father. And our religion, the name of our religion is Islam, but actually one of the other names of Islam is Millata Abikum Ibrahim, the religion of your father Ibrahim. The religion of your father Ibrahim. Now what did I tell you about fathers? I told you three things. One, the first thing I told you today is how much your life is what? Impacted by the choices your dad's made. You remember that? The second thing I told you is it's a part of your identity, you can never get away from it. And the third thing I told you is we have to appreciate what our fathers went through. And it'll give us a lot of perspective about ourselves and where we are today. If Allah calls Ibrahim alayhi salam our father, then we have to realize the choices that he made in his life, who do they affect? They affect us. Even if you learned nothing about Ibrahim alayhi salam ever, you're still affected by the choices that he made. And the Quran, because Ibrahim alayhi salam lived a very long life. If we accept the Bible's version, maybe 175 years or something like that. Or 150 plus years. He was very old. But the Quran only talked about a few days of his life. It didn't talk about 150 years, or even 100 years, or even 80 years, or even 20 years. It only talked about a few days in the whole story. Why do you think, and I'm going to see if you can raise your hands and tell me, why do you think Allah would only talk about a few days, and why do you think those few days might be important? Any thoughts on that from any of you? Yes, young man? Tell me.
Well, it was most of the most important days.
So they're his most important days for who to learn from. Because all of his choices affected us, but some of his choices Allah talked about in the Quran, and you said those are his most important days. So what does that mean for us? Yes. If you did this, then I have to say no. No, go ahead. It's good.
I think he only talked about those days because those are the days when he made the choices that impacted us right now.
Ooh, I like that. Look at that answer. Those are the choices that, I would say, those are the choices that impacted us the most. Those are the days that Allah decided to talk about. And you know what's really cool? People before us knew about Ibrahim alayhi salam too. The Jews are a much older religion. The followers of Judaism are much older than the followers of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the followers of the Jewish religion believe Ibrahim alayhi salam to be their father also. But the days that Allah talked about, many of those days, they don't even know about. They don't even have that in their books. Allah only mentioned those days in our books. So it's like they were days of the life of Ibrahim alayhi salam that the world didn't know about. And Allah decided to tell us about those days in the Quran. So even though we're learning about someone who had a long life, the biggest focus is going to be those few days that Allah wanted us to focus on. You with me so far? Okay. So His choices impact us deeply. And since Allah is calling Him our Father, then as Muslims, whatever we do as Muslims, you know I told you that you can escape some parts of your identity? Like you can move from Houston and become a person who lives in Dallas or Michigan or Detroit or New York or something, right? Or New Jersey, Allah protect you, right? But so long as we're Muslim, our connection to Ibrahim alayhi salam is like your connection to your dad. You can never escape it. You can never escape. Your Islam is inseparable from Ibrahim alayhi salam. It is connected directly to Ibrahim alayhi salam.